Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Time Sport on the Beat. My name is Faizal Salim and today I have with me Kuldip Singh Durbara. He's a former national tennis player and represented Malaysia at the 1991 SEA Games. Today we'll be discussing about the state of tennis in Malaysia. Hi Kuldip, thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. It's an honor to be invited by New Straits Times Sports Section. I think you are the leading daily as far as sports coverage. The first time you all interviewed me was 1979, 46 years ago. Carry on.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I believe you have something that you want to begin with?
Yes. Yeah. It's a very sad... I get emotional. I have a very soft heart. We lost a great man, Dato' Abdul Rahman Bakar, Malaysian Davis Cup player, either 1967 or 1968. He played Davis Cup for Malaysia. Dato' Abdul Rahman Bakar. Fantastic man. Jovial. He kept the spirit of Malaysian tennis up. His last posting was Pengarah, Bahagian Keselamatan dan Bomber Lembaga Port Klang Authority. Mm-hmm. So he was not only good on the tennis court, but also in his work. And he was from Tampin. He was 82 when he passed away in June last year. Abdul Rahman Bakar. He was known as Rahman Bakar. Yeah.
Our thoughts and prayers on Dato' Abdul Rahman. Our thoughts and prayers to Dato' Abdul Rahman Bakar's family. Okay, so maybe I want to start today with unfortunately last year we were relegated in the Davis Cup to the lowest ever division in the history of the country. So from your perspective, Kuldip, what do you think went wrong there?
You see, to many people are known as armchair critics.
Yeah.
And in this area, I have to be very honest. There are many other aspects of Malaysian tennis. So at this moment, I have not concentrated on Davis Cup performances. Mm-hmm. Although I was in the national team, from 1971 to 81, and I was in the Davis Cup training squad in 1970. I was invited in 1971 as a 16-year-old. I was invited in the Davis Cup trials selection. Mm-hmm. Because I was in Form 5, I had to turn it down. And then in 1974, I was invited again for the Davis Cup trials, And then I went to the States. And then when I came back in 79, on May 13, 1979, my plane landed at Subang Airport. Mm-hmm. And I have been away for 5 years. Mm-hmm. 4 years on a tennis scholarship. And 1 year I worked as a teaching assistant in chemistry because I had a bachelor's degree in chemistry. And then Davis Cup 1980, Malaysia was under suspension. So I didn't play in 1980. 1981, I withdrew from the Davis Cup team over an issue that I felt the LTM was wrong. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, we are right, and players have no right to tell us. Players, referring to me, have no right to tell us who should be the coach. Mm-hmm. So I said, and so we have no choice but to accept your withdrawal. Mm-hmm. And that letter, to me, was written sulit. But I guess over 40 years ago, that classification of sulit should be no longer there. This is the first time I'm talking about that letter. And then in 1982 Davis Cup, I had retired, 26 years old, after the Manila SEA Games. So that was my involvement with Davis Cup. After that, 1986, I was involved in 83. But after that, no longer. Mm-hmm. I was involved more in grassroots levels and all that. So to ask me, without giving me time to prepare, research and all that, I think I would rather not answer this question at this moment. Maybe in a few months' time, I can give you an answer. Go ahead.
Sure. So, unfortunately, the team also suffered the defeat. And maybe from your perspective, what can we do to maybe bounce back from the relegation?
Davis Cup selection is paramount. Many times, in fact, even in the 1974 Davis Cup selection, I felt that I was in inverted commas. That means in layman's terms, I was played out. Mm-hmm. So LTM has a very poor record when it come to selecting the Davis Cup team. Back in 1974, there were 4 of us, 3 from Selangor, and that year I was representing Kedah. I was born in Penang. My father was a teacher and later a primary school headmaster in Kota Bharu. So I grew up in Kota Bharu until the age of 15. And then my father asked for a transfer to Alustar, but he sent me to Penang to stay with my mother's parents, my maternal grandparents, because my father was a very far-sighted tennis official. I believe one of the best in the country when he came to knowledge of tennis. He started playing tennis in 1937 as a 17-year-old at St. Xavier's Institution in Penang. 1946, he was Assistant Secretary of Penang Lawn Tennis Association. 1951, he went to Kelantan. 1954, he became Secretary of Kelantan Lawn Tennis Association. And all the way, for 16 years, he was unopposed and undefeated. The day he landed in Kedah, the Kedah Lawn Tennis Association appointed him Secretary of Kedah Lawn Tennis Association. And in 1975, when he retired from the government service, he says, I'm going to do some tennis business. There'll be a conflict of interest. I shall no longer be the secretary. So he was very knowledgeable. So he told me in 1971, when he got transferred to Alustar, he said, Kuldip, if you follow me to Kedah, you are already number 2. I was only 15 and a half years old. He said, you'll be number 2 in the men's in Kedah. In no time, you'll be number 1. Juniors, I was number 1. There's no doubt about it. If you go to Penang, you are number 1 in the juniors, but in the seniors, you will be number 10. And then you work your way up. And true enough, by the time I finished my Form 6, 1973 December, then I went back to Alustar to wait for my results and then go off to the US. By 74, I was number 2 in Penang, men's. And number 2 in Malaysia also, because the number 1 man in Malaysia was from Penang, Mr. Tan Po Seng, who happened to be my biology teacher, my tennis teacher, and also the hockey coach at Methodist Boys School, Form 5, Lower 6, Upper 6. So I had very good guidance, Form 5, Lower 6, Upper 6, and I stayed with my maternal grandparents, and I rose up. Juniors, number 1 already, but at 15 and a half, I was number 10 among the men's on Penang Island. So that's,
So yeah, getting back to the selection. You
yes.
said the selection is very paramount.
Yes. Yeah. So 74 January, I moved back to Alustar, to Kedah. When I was in Penang, 3 years, I was automatic choice for the national team, including a 2-month training period when I was in lower 6 in England. I was 17 years old, and 18-year-old Chow Wing Wah, the late Chow Wing Wah. Unfortunately, he went to the US and he came back and he died in a car accident, young age of 28. He was the national champion then, But so he was 18, I was 17, and LTM sent us to England for 2 months. But when I moved back to Kedah, or I moved first time to Kedah, before that I was in Kelantan, Kedah has only 1 vote at the annual general meeting of the LTM. Selangor has 4 votes, 4 delegates, 4 votes. Perak has 4, Penang has 4. Malacca, Negeri Sembilan, Johor has 2. All the other states 1 vote each, because this constitution was written in 1920. In 1920, only Selangor, Perak and Penang were the developed states with the British officers, the rich Chinese Tauques, if I may use that, and the royal houses that were playing tennis. So Kelantan and all the other small states, 1 delegate, that's fair. But over the years, to change the constitution, you need 2/3 majority. And they refused, the 3 states refused to allow even discussion of amending the constitution. 1962, Malacca walked out of the AGM. 1979, Sabah brought up this issue. The powers to be, because they're so majority elected, they said no discussion.
So the AGM, all this selection, you feel like it's not just the players but also the association as well?
It is the selection committee which is dominated by Selangor, Perak and Penang officials. So when I was in Penang 3 years, I had everything, including 2 months tour of England, which the second time after independence. The first time after independence, after 1957, was 1962 when S.A. Asman and Tan Song Kian were sent to Australia for 3 months.
So maybe do you have like a suggestion of how to better the selection process in terms of the national players going for the Davis Cup?
Fortunately, in 2015, the then Commissioner of Sports, Dato Zaitun Osman, she put her foot down. She says, no, you are not going to take a vote at the AGM. This constitution has to be amended immediately. All states have got 4 delegates. So since 2015, the selection committee is fair.
Yeah.
But the selection of the selection committee is fair. You know? But the process of selection, there is still some weaknesses. And that's what I see from the last few years.
Yeah.
From what I read in the papers, yeah.
Yeah.
Am I too loud?
No.
Am I too loud?
So with I think also with some of our national players turning down call-ups to the Davis Cup, I think also contributed to our defeat. But what is your opinion about these players who unfortunately they have to get part-time jobs and they cannot answer the call-up for national team because of their work commitments? Also, some of them are asking to be compensated as well for their time. So what is your opinion on that?
I have strong opinions on that. Give me a minute.
Sure.
When I have to go back a little bit. So 1974, February was the selection Davis Cup. And I got, in inverted commas again, the simple name, and I got played out. So I had a choice to go to university after my HS results, to go to University Pertanian Malaysia, which is known as University Putra Malaysia. I had a good chance of entering that. Or I already had an offer in December of a tennis scholarship to Nicholls State University, Louisiana. And no Malaysians have ever gone to the US on a scholarship. But because of that way the LTM treated me, I told my father, I'm packing my bags and I'm going. But I'm coming back.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
People leave because they are angry, they are upset. No. To me, this is a beautiful country. I had a beautiful childhood. Why shouldn't I come back? 1979 May, when I finished everything, I came home. The social engineering and all, that started in 1972, Dasa Economy Baru and all that, which was necessary, but there has been some abuses of it. So a lot of, if I may say, a lot of non-Malays have refused to come home because they feel they are being jeopardized and all that. But I had everything. I consider myself a first-class citizen in this country. I came home and I got 3 government jobs. One earlier before going.
Yeah.
I came back, I was given 2 government jobs. Maybe because I was national tennis player and all that. But as far as concerned, I had all the privileges. So there was no reason for me to stay away. And I was able to get the scholarship, tennis scholarship, to the US because of all the tournaments that voluntary tennis officials, Kelantan Lawn Tennis Association, Lawn Tennis Association of Malaysia, Penang Lawn Tennis Association organized. All volunteers. I'm talking about 60s and 70s. Even today, a lot of them are all volunteers.
Yeah.
They sacrifice a lot. To them, I pay homage. Without them, no way I could have reached the level that I could have got a scholarship to the US.
Yeah.
By the way, since 1974, about 40 Malaysian junior players, that means after Form 5 or Form 6, have got tennis scholarships to America. Since then,
Yeah.
in that 40 years, 50 years.
So, does these scholarships to the United States, do you think it can help maybe improve the quality of the tennis players and also the ability to maybe sustain themselves to get a professional career going?
40 years already, 50 years, 1974 I went, I came back in 79. I graduated in 78, I worked for a year as a chemistry teacher. I have a degree in chemistry. Every summer I went to work in the tennis camps, coaching, under one of the best coaches in the world, Dr. Alex Beer. So this has been going on for, let's say 78, I graduated, or 79 when I came back, 46 years. In that 46 years, 40 players have gone. Many of them have come back. LTM has not played their role. They have completely ignored these players. I came back, 79. I told the then president of the Lawn Tennis Association of Malaysia. Good men, gentlemen and all. But you see, these officials in 1979 were from the old school. Everything is amateurish, amateur. No. Tennis cannot be professional. You cannot earn money from sports. And that was the same mindset of the International Tennis Federation. Professional players couldn't play at Wimbledon until 1968-69, when tennis became open. That means anybody can play.
Yeah.
So in 79, our officials still have that mindset of the International Tennis Federation. But the International Tennis Federation was able to change because there were a lot of vocal critics, especially Jack Kramer. They finally had to give way. Because who runs the International Tennis Federation during those days? Who ran? If I can use again, in inverted commas, rich white men. No, I'm not being racist. Please don't get me wrong. International tennis is run by the Western countries. Britain, America, France, Australia, the Grand Slam countries.
Yeah.
So who were running International Tennis Federation? Rich old men. And to them, sports is amateur. No. Olympic Games, professionals couldn't take part, Olympic Games. So this was the 1960s until finally tennis was one of the first, or maybe golf. Golf became professional earlier. But tennis, there were only 8 professionals. The tennis community could only support 8 tennis professionals until 1968. These 8 of them got together, they ran their own professional tour. And the main man was Jack Kramer. You know? So, but he fought the International Tennis Federation, very hard. You read his book, fantastic book, and so he was the one, so they can. But in 1979, LTM was still the old mindset. I told the president, I say, he's a great man. I take my hat off. The late Tan Sri Abdul Jamil Rais. He's been president since 1962. But 79, when I told him, I said, Tan Sri, I would like to come to the LTM meeting and tell them what. Oh, no. Kuldip, we don't know what you are going to talk about. He was being cautious, because committee meetings are only for committee meetings.
In terms of maybe getting it to be more professional, is that what you mean?
No, tell them what is available in the US. They could have supported me to play the circuit, but they didn't give any support. No support at all. I write to them, they just ignore me during the 4 years. So I had to go and work in the summer camp because the academic the sports scholarship, the tennis scholarship is only for the 9 months academic year.
During the semester.
Yes, the 2 semesters academic year. The summers, you're on your own. So my tennis coach there, Dr. McCann, he organized for me to go and work in one of the best tennis camps in upstate New York. I'm in Louisiana. So, 2 months, full board and lodging, you get to, summer, enjoy the rich, summer camps and you earn the pocket money. And so, very, very sad, I could have played the circuit. So that was what I was going to come and tell LTM. But they were not willing to listen.
So, from your observations about Tennis Malaysia and now, are they willing to? Are they making efforts to make tennis more professional, and then maybe it will help support the athletes?
Yes, they are trying. About 10, 15 years ago, they set up camp in Spain. I think that was short-sighted. No, I was in contact with some officials, but no one asked me, is it a good idea to send our players to Spain for 3 months? They did. They had a training camp in Spain under the presidency of Tan Sri Abdul Razak Latif. No one asked me. If they had asked me, I said, no. I think US is a better place because the players would get used to the American system, and if they don't make it to the professional circuit, they can go to university and get a degree. Instead, they sent to Spain because that time Spain was riding high. Spain was riding high. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Spain won the Davis Cup and all that. And all the training was done on clay courts. And the clay courts have almost virtually disappeared in Malaysian tennis except for Kuala Kangsar. If you go to Kuala Kangsar town, there's an Idris club. I think it's after Sultan Idris. But the olden days, they just use Idris Club. They don't use the Sultan in front, before independence. So Idris Club, I believe it's named after Sultan Idris. Right in the heart of Kuala Kangsar, they have 2 clay courts. And I think those are the only clay courts left in Peninsular Malaysia. Maybe a few more. But at one time, CRC, almost every club had clay courts. Clay court and grass courts. So to send the players 3 months to go and train on clay courts and then come back here and play on hard courts, there is not much difference, but there is a difference between clay courts and hard courts. But as I said, the follow-up, Spanish speaking. You go there and, you can't, nobody went to Spain after that, no follow-up. But if they had sent them to the US, all they had to do was ask me. I have got enough good contacts. In fact, now, there are about 4 universities in America that has Malaysian tennis players who are coaches. Fong Meng Kai, Adam Malik, Professor Chin Tan, Elvin Cheng, SUK, I can't pronounce her name, SUK, Suk Ong, a lady, also coaching in Arizona, New Mexico. So we have the thing. All we have to do is somebody coordinate them. Nobody's willing to do because they don't know. Many of the officials in LTM are very young and they don't have. And they don't ask. They don't ask. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to know. No, I think they're just shy to ask. Please, don't be shy. I didn't reach this level. I didn't survive in America. Been the first Malaysian to go on a tennis scholarship there. I didn't survive 4 years. If I was a shy guy, never asked. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got to be,
get the experience.
No, you got to ask questions. Then you move. If you don't know, you don't stay there. You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
If you're afraid to ask, you got to ask and move. You get somebody gives you answers. You think you're not sure whether it's right. Ask a second person. But if you think what the person has told you makes sense, logic, follow. You don't have to ask a second person. I was lucky. I had very good mentors in the US.
So by sending them to the US and all that, that can help them break into the professional circuit and also be more sustaining, is it?
Can you think of any other country that would give that kind of opportunity to Malaysian tennis players? No. America is the best because they can go to college if they don't make it. What are they going to do if they don't make it to the professional circuit? What are they going to do?
Most likely coach, other than that.
And does everybody love coaching?
Yeah, it depends on the individual if they like coaching as well. Yeah.
So we have to make sure there are alternatives for our tennis players. We shouldn't be thinking, we want to have somebody in the top 100. But what about his future? Now they're sending 12-year-olds, 14 years old to go play the local circuit, international circuit. You know how much school days they are missing? Do you know the 12-year-old comes and plays the national junior circuit from Monday through Saturday? You know how many weeks of school they miss?
A lot, huh?
A lot. Do you think you are fair to them? They're 12, 14-year-olds. They're not decided yet what they are going to do. Why don't they make sure that they have... You see, I was very fortunate because my father knew. My father was the headmaster of the first standalone English primary school in Kota-Baru. Standalone means, in the beginning, 1940s and all the primary schools were attached to the secondary school. Then when the primary school became very big, they would split. So my father was part of Sultan Ismail College or Ismail English School before. And by 1956, the primary schools had become big, so they split, and my father was appointed the first headmaster of that Sultan Ismail Primary School. And he was the headmaster for 14 years until he asked for a transfer back to Kedah because his home state, because he wanted to retire there. So he knew about education and all that. And one fine day around 1969, we are 7 in the family. 5 played competitive tennis. All 5 of us won at least one national junior title, and 4 of us went on to represent the country. The eldest brother, after Form 6, he went off to do engineering in UK. And he was also national junior doubles champion. He went to UK, but when he came back, my father had retired. So he had to work very hard as an engineer to support the rest of the family. So he couldn't play. Or else he also, I think, would have made the national team because he was a very good doubles player. So somebody asked my father, 1969 in Kota-Baru, the beautiful tennis club we had, Lian Tong Tennis Club in Kota-Baru. 2 tennis courts, later 3, built in 1950 by a very rich Chinese businessman. Of course, we like to say, rich Chinese Tauke, But now I think today we cannot use that term. We will say rich Chinese businessman. But he was a fantastic Chinese businessman. Dato Kaya Pati Yap Honggi. He loved tennis. He built 2 tennis courts in his garden. He had a big garden. He was a very rich man and very generous. He built 2 tennis courts in his garden, 1950, Lian Tong Tennis Club. Because he had a rice mill there, Lian Tong Rice Mill. And then behind his big bungalow and big garden, and he built 2 tennis courts in 1950. And the British resident in Kelantan, Mr. Churchill, used to come and play in the evenings there. So all the other VIPs would come and play tennis there, and that was the club we grew up in. So somebody asked my father in 1969, your sons are going to be professional tennis players? Because by that time tennis had become open. My father said, no. Let them get their degree first, then they can play all the tennis they want. All day long, I don't care. Because my father was an educationist. He knew that.
So it's also important not just to maybe create a professional environment where the players can be, but also give them other opportunities for education as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I came back in 79, May 13. I have to repeat that because, when the plane landed at Subang Airport, I was so excited to be back home, 1979, May. So I took 3 months off to rest, and September 1st, I started coaching tennis. Because I had a degree in chemistry, 1 year working experience, but I wanted a government job. So you cannot go and, apply for a government job and get immediately. Yeah. So I started coaching tennis in KL, in the Klang Valley. And September 1st, January 1st, a member of the Kelantan junior tennis team that won the national title, Tan Sri Abdul Jamil Rais Cup in 1970. And this is January 1980. He was an accountant with UMW, Toy Cen. He convinced his manager, general manager of, to hire me. So I went for the interview. And so Mr. Kam, he says, UMW, he says, we would like you to join us. So I said, how much leave can I get? That's very important. Full pay leave. I had no pay leave. I had no point, right?
So it's an opportunity for you to go for tournaments.
Yeah. So I asked him, how much leave can I get? Because I want to play international tennis. I will not be 25 again, at least for the next 2-3 years. He said, 1 month a year. I told Mr. Kam, I said, 1 month a year, not enough. I want to play international tennis. I have come 4 years of college tennis in America. I was the first one to come home from the States. So I said, but keep the job for me. When I stop playing competitive tennis, maybe I want to join UMW, He was a crazy tennis player. He loved. His daughter was a national women's champion, Kam Sushin. See, that makes a lot of difference, when the top management are, involved in tennis and all that. Tennis friendly, tennis. So I waited. That was January. End of March, I went to play the Port Dickson Open. The general manager of Perbadanan Kemajuan Negeri Negeri Sembilan, the State Economic Development Corporation. In Selangor is PKNS. In Negeri Sembilan is Perbadanan Kemajuan Negeri Negeri Sembilan PKNS. The general manager, the late Tuan Haji Muhammad Akbar bin Baba, he was national champion before. He retired and he made the general manager because he had just come back from Harvard University. He had a master's in business management on a G2G. He was a PTD officer, G2G, government to government. So he came back. They appointed him general manager of PKNS, November. By April, he was comfortable because it's a new job. You got to make sure you're comfortable. April, he was ready to hire a national tennis player, and he approached me. He says, "Kuldip, you are the best player in the country today. Come, I give you a job in the SCGC. You represent Negeri Sembilan, and I understand you had good coaching training in the US, coached the Negeri Juniors." So I asked him, I said, in Encik Akbar, that time I was in Encik Akbar, now later he became Tuan Haji. I said, Encik Akbar, how much leave can I get? You know what he told me? Beautiful. Kuldip, it is in the general orders, government regulations, that when you represent your state or country in any sport, you are given no pay, no record. Leave tanpa record. Cuti tanpa record.
Yeah.
That means
unrecorded leave.
Unrecorded leave, that's the word. That means you get full pay leave. So being a graduate, and he gave me 2 increments. He said, you graduated what year? I said, 1978. He said, 1980? Okay. Because they have a lot of statutory bodies have got more discretionary powers. So he says, I give you 2. So I was drawing like $1,500 a month. And I was 6 months a year on leave, playing for the country.
So having people involved in tennis at the corporate level also can also help their understanding of what professional players need to maybe also enter the workforce and then sustain themselves like that. Is that yeah?
Very true, very true. I'm afraid I was a bit long-winded, but I think you got it exactly what is. So okay, I'm not too...
no worries, no worries.
I don't want to be too detailed.
Okay, I think we move on to our next topic lah. Because right now, as you are aware that there are new variants of tennis that have popped up, such as pickleball.
Yes, I'm very aware. Carry on. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the boom of pickleball and paddle in Malaysia?
Any sport, organized sport, not just go out there and kick the ball around and all that, playing badminton in the garden and all that. No, organized sport with rules and competitive. No point playing organized sports, win or lose, never mind. No. You play, you try your best to win. Within the rules, not win at all costs. Because nowadays, tennis, in fact, it started around 1970s. When I went to the States in 1974, we call our own lines. No linesmen, no umpires. Malaysia was still. They used to have umpires, linesmen, everybody will volunteer. But when I came back in 1979, also no more. You umpire your own match. You call the lines on your side and the opponent will call the lines on that side. The first time there's an argument, you call the honorary referee, he will send an umpire.
So, organized sports within rules. Yeah.
No, so the rules is that you call your own lines and I call on my side, you call on your side, because now you don't have, everybody is so busy. Nobody's going to volunteer umpire a match for 2 hours. Last time I play for 2 hours, then I'll go umpire one match for 2 hours, everybody will take turns. But now they'll come, play their match and they will disappear. They're all so busy. So, by 1978, 79, when I came in 79, already the culture had changed. But when I first went to the States,
bring you back to the pickleball. So your thoughts on it?
So I said organized sports, anyone is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because to exercise, you ask me to go jogging, I will go 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. After that, I'll get bored. But you play tennis or pickleball, you don't even know you're exercising. So very important, competitive, organized sport, no matter what sport, is very healthy.
So it's positive. You see it as positive.
Of course.
But there's also concerns now that pickleball and paddle, they pose a threat to the infrastructure of tennis, because some pickleball tennis courts are being converted into pickleball courts, and tennis players are complaining about this. So do you think it can pose a threat?
Pickleball and paddle tennis.
Yeah, on the paddle. Yeah.
I'm not so familiar with paddle tennis because it has not really picked up in Malaysia. I'm very familiar with pickleball. You know, we have limited tennis courts in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And those tennis courts we have are the work of dedicated tennis officials over the past 50 years. To raise funds, to get corporates to build those courts. We put in a lot of efforts to build those tennis courts. And you just fly in, if I can use the word fly in, and come and say, I want to use the tennis court also. This tennis court belongs to all the condominium residents. I notice, for example, condominium, I noticed that this court is only used 2 hours a day. So we can also use for pickleball. That's the problem with futsal. Futsal took over a lot of the tennis courts in the condominium because there was nobody to organize. You see, any tennis court, if there's no convener, they call it, someone to coordinate, it will be underutilized. So a lot of the condominiums in the Triangle Valley, the first thing they do is they put in a tennis court. Why? Why do they put in a tennis? You go and see all the luxurious condominiums. Why do they put in, the first thing they do is they put in a tennis court? Why?
The activity for the residents?
Residents.
Yeah.
Because it's considered a glamorous thing and this thing. But there is also a hidden agenda. One tennis court, 50,000 ringgit, 100,000 ringgit. Profit in building one tennis court. So the contractor will, you go and build a badminton court there, how much can you, cost of development, how much can you, I'm being very honest. Developers can come after me now. But this is the fact. Why do they put in $100,000, the latest beautiful surface, fantastic, 100,000, and you only utilize 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, or maybe 2 hours a day, and they'll put lights.
Yeah.
That to put in the lights is another 20,000 ringgit.
So the access of a tennis court, it leads to underutilization, is it?
I'm talking about the condominium high-rise one. Now we go to public courts.
Okay.
The public courts is the work of a lot of tennis officials. Especially 1986, suddenly we were able to get many tennis courts in the country thanks to the efforts of, he was then Encik Abdul Ghaffar Baba, President Lawn Tennis Association of Malaysia. The late. Later he became Tun Abdul Ghaffar Baba. He was able to convince the government to put in tennis courts. National Tennis Centre, Jalan Duta, is the work of, is the brainchild of Tun Abdul Ghaffar Baba. But you see, he was the Deputy Prime Minister in 1989 SEA Games. So you had to have somebody working to, his dream, his brainchild. He says, I want this. But there's nobody follow up on it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the man who followed up on that was the late Tuan Haji Muhammad Akbar bin Baba, who was my general manager in SCGC in Negeri Sembilan. He was a PGD officer on secondment there. So he came back to the federal government as a PGD officer. So that time he was then, I think, Deputy Secretary General, Ministry of Human Resources. So he was the one who carried the file, make sure, because that combination got us the National Tennis Center. And then Langkawi, Ipoh has got 10 tennis courts, Malacca. This is all the work of the combination of the late Tun Abdul Ghaffar Baba and Tuan Haji Muhammad Akbar bin Baba.
So, is there like need for there to be purpose-built pickleball area so that they don't take over the tennis courts?
I'm going to chase them away every time they come to a tennis court. I say, you go and put in the effort we people did. The last generation, I'm going to start chasing them. No. Let them use our tennis courts. Just use masking tape. Don't put in permanent lines. Use masking tape. Find out when you negotiate with the owners of the tennis court, whoever. Say, how many hours do you need a week? You say, okay, we need 10 hours. Okay?
Should be working together.
Yes, but put masking tapes, draw the line, and then we can share nothing. Because the tennis court is not used, daylight hours is what? 7 to 7, 12 hours.
Yeah.
You put in lights, you get another 4 hours. 12 plus 4, 16 hours. We don't play tennis 16 hours a day. And then the midday sun, tennis is too taxing.
Yeah.
You could play pickleball at 12, 1 o'clock. The kids can play because it's not so taxing. So it's very good for the older tennis players. Once you reach 60, you want to cut down on your activity and all you have to, or else you get knee pain and all, pick up pickleball. That's why you see the top pickleball players today in the country are the 30-year-old tennis players, Ashari. What's his full name? Ashari Zainal? Ashari.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So basically, there's no need for there to be a fight between it's just that need to work together and don't use permanent lines lah. So okay, unfortunately we have come to the end of our session today. Thank you so much, Kuldip, for joining us, and thank you everyone for listening to Time Sports on the Beat. I'm your host Faizal Salim. We hope you enjoyed our session. You can listen to the podcast on Audio Plus, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again, and I hope you join us again next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.